Um, Obviously, during this time with with coronavirus, social unrest, political climate, things like that, navigating marketing for your business can be tough. And I want to cover three things. I want to cover messaging that you are dealing with right now, messaging that you're considering, or messaging that others are doing, and then how to market yourself if you have a marketing budget. What opportunities are there for you that may not have been before, and then if you don't have a budget, if you have to cut costs, how you can still market your business and gain ground. This is all going to be kind of top level in the interest of time, so that's why if you have any specific questions, please drop them in chat, and we'll get started. So we are going to talk about not specifically marketing during this crisis, but more with the context of the upcoming economic environment. The truth of the matter is almost all the experts say we are going to be in a recession long term. Kind of harken back to 2008, 2009, a little background. I started my business during the last recession, and learned a lot of hard, valuable lessons then. And then we've kind of built our business from John working out with me back then in a kitchen into a small business that's fairly healthy, 15 employees and things like that. Most of that was on the back of what we'll cover during our If You Have No Budget, because back then I didn't have a budget, but we had a lot of successes. So contextually, that's what we're talking about, less about specifically maybe what's going on today, though we will touch on that. First thing I want to say, we've all probably likely been through times like this, recession, crisis. Gosh, it was a rough time back then. I just want to say contextually, it's going to get better. As business owners, as marketing professionals, as employees, whatever it is, it's tough right now. It can be tempting to kind of give up and wait, especially as a business owner. Just give up and say, well, you're going to wait for this all to blow over, go have a pint. But it will get better, and the people who invest now, people who kind of put the elbow grease now or really take advantage of the opportunity, are going to see results and positive results at the end of it. So for your business, is this a downturn or an opportunity? Always during these times of scrappy win, there's market share opportunities with less competition, more affordable pricing. If you've ever been kind of thinking about workshopping new ideas to grow your business, to generate leads, or try new marketing brands or ideas or messaging, now's a good time to do it. We've got more time. We've got the ability to kind of experiment with a lot of stuff going on where it might be a great time to experiment. I always say elbow grease is in high demand. As a business owner myself, you know that while you work in the business most of the day, you have less time to work on the business. Right now, you might have more time to work on the business, so it's a good time to just roll up the sleeves and do it. And then in the marketing world, not to put a negative spin on it, but there are a lot of hiring opportunities. Unfortunately, one of the first things companies cut, and this is why I started my business back then, in the last recession, I was laid off from 3 companies all in a row when I gave up and said, I'll do it myself. Marketing professionals are unfortunately not as valued as production. And so if you were looking to hire someone for your business who's skilled in marketing that you couldn't get before, whether you were priced out or just, the people just weren't looking for jobs, there are opportunities now. So if you've got the ability to hire, you might be able to, I'm not saying pay them less and take advantage, but you might be able to find people who were not available to you before. Just some ideas of companies that started during recessions. And there are lots of local stories and small business success stories, but just kind of, when you go through things like Netflix, Airbnb, Trader Joe's, Warby Parker, $2 billion company, Microsoft, they all started during a recession. Every one of them started, some of them had some initial funding, some didn't. Warby Parker was 4 guys that were out of a job, working from home, building a $2 billion clothing company. Trader Joe's started as a small neighborhood market. The stories are always there of these companies that took advantage of the time they had to really invest during a recession, and came out ahead to all big brands that have healthy financials, and we all know them. One thing I do want to say though, as myself, a lot of this is from the perspective of a small business owner. You have to weigh risks. So the context of everything I'm going to talk to you about with opportunities to spend some money or things like that. As a small business owner, I always encourage you, pay yourself first. Take care of you and your family. Invest in yourself. Don't sacrifice your mental health and well-being to chase some idea of some magical marketing or business development plan. Your own personal health, mental health as a business owner is really important. Burnout is a real thing. Depression over finances is a real thing. So everything is in the context. Take care of yourself first. The other stuff comes next. Invest in yourself. Invest in educating yourself, doing what you do better, creating a better product. That's all important. Sometimes more important than doing some marketing. Budget your time. Don't go all in on one thing and lose what got you where you are. And then utilize available resources around you, like the local chamber, like volunteer organizations like SCORE, mentorship programs, things like that. Now is a good time to do that, and they might be a better investment of your time than some of the things we'll talk about today. To invest in yourself and really build your skills and your ability to run a business. So the first topic we want to talk about is messaging. With coronavirus, with social unrest, with the political climate we're in, the question is, as a business, is it right to adjust or adapt your messaging to go along with these times, to address these times? I want to say in this category that I'm going to speak about, everything is from the perspective of marketing, the perspective of data points and results we've seen in the marketplace. I am not going to speak to the actual political issues. I'm not going to say right or wrong. I'm not going to say do this or do that or believe this or believe that. I want to say everything is in the context of the marketing, the perceived marketing value, the reactions we've seen in the marketplace to customers, not, as a business owner, your own personal beliefs. So disengaging from that, I want that context to be very important. First question to ask yourself on your messaging: does your business directly work in areas affected by this crisis? Coronavirus. If you're in retail, if you're in food, if you're in health, if you have the public coming to your place, your messaging should definitely educate your customers. What you should be messaging out there is, the steps you're taking to ensure safety, the various, things you have to do to protect your customers. Definitely educate. There are a lot of customers asking online or peers things, hey, is this place safe to go to? If you are safe to go to and it makes sense, please educate your customers. However, don't open yourself up for scrutiny. Don't go out in the marketplace and say, yeah, we're great. No one's got infected here, so it's a great place to come eat. What will happen? Karma in 2020. What will happen is a week later you'll be in the news. You don't want to risk that. Don't go above and beyond to say it's risk-free or to say anything like that. Just educate your customers. Remember that health is not a political issue. Regardless of how we feel as business owners and the safety of our office, I've got all the signs, all the mask requirements, temperature taking, all the things. It doesn't matter. We are going to do our best, but we're not perfect. A lot of us don't know what the heck is going on. The flip side of that is customers know that. If you're honest and you're, saying, hey, we're navigating this just like you, as opposed to saying, yeah, we got it all figured out, customers are going to be okay. They're not going to look down on you. We have lots of examples. For instance, here in Sacramento, there's a very popular local coffee shop chain. Word got out that they were requiring their employees not to wear masks because they didn't want to give the impression to customers that they should be scared by going there. Well, the predictable happened, and they got a major backlash, social media news, about how they're an unsafe place to work. They were so focused on their messaging and their brand being, yeah, we're safe, that the opposite happened. Don't be political, just be honest and real. And then audit your current advertising. Like hotels.com is a good example of a company. They had this ad where the character they had was on an airplane next to people reaching into their chips and slobbering and stuff, trying to show like a bad airplane passenger. They correctly cut it off immediately and changed. If you have any current advertising that might address these sensitive issues, you know, it's a good time to audit that and think about that. It's better to say nothing than the wrong thing at this point. Talking about social issues. I'm just going to cover the basics here. There's a lot of social issues going on. If you are a minority-owned business owner, it is acceptable, it is great, and it is encouraged to celebrate your diversity and celebrate your business. If not, don't. I'm going to be real. If you're in your social media and you know some great local minority-owned businesses, celebrate them. Let others speak for you. Don't put yourself in the spotlight. Don't talk about your own diversity. Don't talk about your own political beliefs. None of that. Let others speak for you. If you've been doing great things, other people will talk about it. What happens is if you do the opposite and you do create advertising based around your diversity or inclusion, things like that, you open yourself up for scrutiny. There are a lot of examples. There's some big companies. Pinterest celebrated their diversity, and it turned out they weren't, and got a lot of bad negative media backlash. We've had a lot of local instances of that with some organizations and nonprofits that they celebrated it 1 week later, they're in the news for the opposite. So it's better to say nothing than something in this environment from a marketing standpoint. Whatever you say, though, be sincere and honest. Don't try to go above and beyond and try to make a marketing campaign out of a social issue. Be yourself, be honest. If things do come to you, if customers do ask you about these things, for example, if you get a social media or a news journalist or whatever it is asking you about your diversity policies, be honest. It's okay to say, hey, they're not where we feel they need to be, or they are, but we're willing to learn. What can we do? How can we learn? That's a better approach than being defensive. I'll leave it at that, but it's better. The general rule, just like mom always says, right? It's better to say nothing than something new. And then what about politics? No, I'm gonna leave it at that. Don't get involved in politics right now from a marketing standpoint. I feel like we've all seen many instances of the backlash to our businesses, or to businesses, not our businesses, of getting involved in politics. Overall, basically, in any kind of heated cultural, political, environmental conflict, it's better to stay away and stay true to who you are and what got you where you are. So the question is, what is the message? Should you shift your messages? Yes, unless you're very confident in your new angle, don't. Stay the course. Don't risk the backlash to your brand. If you must address the issues, be honest. However, there is no evidence that crisis-related ads perform better. For instance, the VP of agency media solutions at Google, YouTube, who handles all their advertising platforms, did analysis on coronavirus-related ads and their performance versus other companies or other ads that were not. There was no difference. There was no improvement on coronavirus. So all of these ads you've seen of, now more than ever, which we've seen 100 times over, have no evidence of performing better than the standard ads that people were running before. So the overall message is, unless you have something very particular you need to address or say, stay the course, keep your marketing message where you are. Talk about how long you've been in business, talk about your community, talk about how great your product is, talk about customers who are happy, and stay the course. We're going to switch over to more actionable things. If you have the budget, if you're a company and you didn't have to cut your marketing budget, or if you're debating whether or not to cut your marketing budget, there are a lot of opportunities right now. There are some great opportunities out there where what budget you had can get a lot further than it was before. A lot of companies are pulling their marketing funds, and advertising platforms are kind of scrambling to fill the gaps. So if you do have budget, there's some great opportunities. Number one, I'm biased because this is what I do for a living. Digital advertising. The opportunity is there are more customers today searching online than before, for obvious reasons and less obvious reasons. Additionally, in addition to the fact that everyone's working from home, there is a significant number of people who are researching ahead of time before they visit a business now. They're researching, researching on, what you're doing with the current crisis. They're researching reviews to see how other people are reacting to you. That's using that knowledge. There's a lot of opportunity. There's less competition in the marketplace, also tied with more demand. Like I mentioned earlier, companies are cutting budgets, which leads to a decrease in overall costs in digital marketing. The cost per click, the cost to get top billing in an ad position or more impressions on a Facebook ad or higher level and Yelp, things like that, is much cheaper than it was back in the beginning of March. In fact, back in March, it was getting really expensive, and we've seen the opposite happen. The other benefit about digital advertising is when there's so much uncertainty, you have the ability to turn it off in an instant. Unlike TV, radio, or print ads, if you see something's not working, or you put a message out there that has a negative reaction, or you just need to readjust, you go in and press the button and it's turned off, and you're not spending money anymore. Huge benefit for digital advertising, especially while you're learning and figuring things out. And I want to say, in that, if you are currently running digital ads, Google ads, Yelp ads, Facebook ads, now's a really great time to audit and explore opportunities. If your ads, if nothing else has changed and your ads are not performing better today than they were back in March, seasonally adjusted, then you might want to give another fresh set of eyes and see what's going on. And I'll show you the data point here in a second. Just an example, a screenshot, roofing company in Google, everything above the fold is an ad. The top section with these 50+ roofers nearby is an ad. These ads, and there's local ads too. These are all opportunities and very affordable to find your customers where they are in digital. Here at our company, we manage and house data for a large number of clients with a spend of several $1,000s per day. We have noticed a trend, and you can see the graphs here. In March, we start to see a trend, and it really starts hitting in late April. In March, as we all remember, God, time flies so crazy right now. There was a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things going on. People were not sure what was up, what was down. So we have a little bit of delayed reaction. But if you see in our charts, by the time you get to late April, what these charts are showing us is the average cost per click. So the average cost to get someone to a website or engage with an app or things like that. And then the chart on the right was the average impression share. Knowing that, we continually optimize, but generally things have stayed relatively same with our ad strategies, we have seen a huge flip. So our clients are getting more visits to their website, more leads and everything at a cheaper rate than they were before. And ads are getting at a higher billing because the customer or competition is dropping out. So there's just a ton of opportunity in digital ads right now, where if you spend just a little bit of money, you can really get more bang for the buck. Television and radio. Right now is a prime opportunity if you've been wanting to experiment with more impression-based marketing. In our industry, CPMs, cost per thousand impressions, things like that. There are prime spots for significantly less. I was able to pull NPR. I tried to pull in a couple other radio stations, and I pulled some TV and things like that. The rates right now, I've been quoted some rates 75% lower than they were a few months back. If you've got some old ads that were very effective, or you want to experiment with some new ads and you have the ability to, now might be a good time to do it because it's so cheap. Remember that TV, radio, digital TV, most of those are run and managed, or the sales of those are mainly done by commissioned salespeople. So even some of the queries I got, they gave me their rate sheets where they're all discounted dramatically, but they all came with the caveat of this is also negotiable. If you're a TV watcher and you ever notice times when you see the same commercial going over and over and over again, also you see a lot of old commercials running right now. That's those TV and radio stations trying to fill the spots with something they have in the archive. Maybe they have an old employee or old client they're gonna throw freebies at. Maybe they've negotiated some really cheap deals. They would rather give it to a new customer who's gonna pay them for that spot than the free spot. So there's opportunity. Just remember that with television and radio, you don't have the benefit of digital where you can turn it off in an instant. You are usually on a contract, and it does require more effort to launch an ad right now than, when we have various restrictions and other things. Getting a film crew together is pretty much impossible. But if you've got some spots, or you have a station that's willing to put something together for you with B-roll or things like that, it might be a good time to experiment. You're going to get more eyes on your ads for a lot less. Just a screenshot of the local business. The third tier of, if you still have the budget, is sponsorships and charities. Local charities during recession get hit the hardest. They have events or publications or workshops like this where they have sponsorship packages available. You can get those sponsorships at a more affordable rate than maybe you would have traditionally. There's also something that we in marketing called the halo effect. Companies that kind of attach themselves to charities get kind of borrow their goodwill. As John put it to me earlier, you get in a vacuum, if there's one company that has charities and things and another company that doesn't, customers are more likely to go with one that does. But whatever you do, if you do kind of get involved in a sponsorship or charity, be genuine with it. Work with someone that that you can actually give value to. If you're an attorney, for instance, work with some legal funds or things like that. And it's a good time now that we have time, and if you still have the budget to get involved. You can kind of see, like, back in 2008, 2009 on our chart here, dollars to charities, donations dropped dramatically. I mean, more than 10% in 2008, and it was still down. Not to sound callous, but to us marketers or a business owner, that also means opportunity. Where maybe you could not afford to give back at that time, you might be able to now because there's a lower entry level. Let's talk about, if you have to cut your budget, the harsh reality of a small business owner is we have to be smart with our money during a recession, especially when there's so much uncertainty. That doesn't mean you have to stop marketing. As a business owner, your biggest asset is your time, your expertise, your energy. Now, while things are slow, or if you're shut down completely, now is a good time to invest. Some of the things we can do under kind of that do-it-yourself category. One of the biggest things I did for my business that helped me get to where I am today, and one of the biggest things we've seen a lot of people do and helped a lot of people do, is invest in their website content. Now is a good time to really start creating resources in your blog. And when I say blog, I don't mean talk about the latest food that you enjoyed, but more like give your customers quality resources and educate them and establish your expertise. It's a great time to review all of your website content, from your branding and your storytelling and your history and services, reviews, everything. It's time to go through all that and start working on it. All your online profiles, your Yelp, your Google Local, all those kind of things. Good time to look at those and make sure they're correct, make sure they're complete, make sure they really have the messaging on them that you want. Post new things, respond to reviews, things like that. It's a good time to do that, and those do pay off in the long term. I'll touch on that in a little bit. Social media networking is another great opportunity. Become an active voice in your industry. There's a lot of peers that we have as business owners who are in related businesses or direct competition or potential customers who are active in online social communities, and it's a good place for us to meet them where they are and really become a valuable resource for them. If you're business to business, typically the rule is LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, not only can you add people, but you can also join groups and communities and become an active member in those groups. Just like you would a networking group in person, where you have other peers. If you're like a retail, a restaurant, public facing, Facebook and Instagram are kind of a real good opportunity for you to get your face out there, get your messaging out there. So join the communities in these social networks. And then when we talk about kind of the content you put out there, other than the community part where you help answer questions and help other professionals do what they do, I'm in some like web development and other groups where I help other competitors answer questions and fix problems, and it's generated leads and partnerships for me. General posting, do things like celebrate your employees right now. A lot of us have heard and a lot of us have seen kind of a trend towards people wanting to Some of the things, some of the movements out there, like, you know, when you're looking for a job, ask the potential employer what they did during the coronavirus crisis. If your social media platforms celebrate your people and really support them, I need to say genuinely, then at the end of this, you're going to be seen as a company that people are going to want to associate with. And then other things you can do in the do-it-yourself category, education-based, create a lot of how-to guides, which are kind of part on your website with your blogs, but also be created as white papers for email campaigns, things like that. Hold workshops to teach your peers. We're on one right now. You know, if you're thinking at any point, hey, this guy knows his stuff, then I've done my job. If at any point you go, oh my God, this guy doesn't know his stuff, he's a blowhard, well, I need work. But at the same time, you now know me. So it's worth investing in. So, you know, your local chamber, just like this, other networking groups, volunteer organizations that help businesses, whatever it is. If you as a business owner, don't suffer from thinking you're not good enough. You do have skills and expertise that is valuable to someone, and now is a great opportunity, especially with everyone remote, to really take the time to teach others. And that will not only make you better at what you do, because you'll learn along the way, but you also edify others and really promote your company and brand. And then, you know, of course, support the plug for the chamber. Of course, you know, support local organizations like the chamber, things like that. You know, go to them and say, hey, what can we do? You know, my business, we're a law firm, or hey, we're an accountant, or hey, you know, we're a landscaping company. Whatever it is that you do, what can we do to help you to give back to our community? That will pay off in spades in the future. If you become an ally for the chamber, they're going to remember you, and then when opportunities come up for your business, who's going to see those opportunities? You. And then, of course, take the time of self-training, educate yourself, make you better at what you do. Whether it's making your product better, whether it's learning how to market your own company better, whether it's whatever it is, now is an opportune time, and it will pay off in the future because you'll be better. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory there. Some of the things, and I want to be sensitive of time for questions and answers, but some of the things are that you can do right now that have a long-term effect. Today, search engine optimization. It's not as scary as it sounds. It is a long-term strategy, so it's not a get results tomorrow, though there are things sometimes you can do. Really focus on local. The opportunity for a small business is local results. If you're a dentist, you know, whatever it is, that local map is where you're going to get the most benefit. And there are different ways to do it. First and foremost, claim your Google My Business page. Go in there, encourage customers, past, present, future, to get, you know, to give you reviews. Write great content on your website, which we'll talk about a little further. You know, whatever it is, do that and invest in it now, and it'll pay off long term. That's how I built my business. I didn't do a single paid ad until probably 8 years in my business, but I built it based on SEO strictly. Just continuing in our first attempts at content and other stuff, and John remembers, were terrible. We look at them now and we cringe, but we did it and we didn't stop. Don't get caught up in the minutia, especially things like SEO. You can get SEO people that overwhelm you with technical, you know, garble. Ignore it. Just be steady. Become a resource. Create content for your customers. Identify what problems they're facing. And I say marketing lingo, but facing in the awareness phase of their buyer's journey. Basically, what are their challenges that you solve for? What resource can you be to them to help them make a decision, which eventually might lead to a purchase with your company, or a share, or a referral, or a backlink for your SEO, things like that. What are their problems, and then what resources can we create to attract those people to us? An example of what I do, you know, we do a lot of web hosting, and a lot of people have web hosting issues where their website goes down or crashes or gets hacked. If you go Google right now, you know, like what to do when my website is down, my website comes up at #1 because I've written a comprehensive guide to help people figure that out. That's generated leads for me. You know, what is an equal example of that you can do for your business to help your customers be educated, not only to do what they need to do better, but then engage with you further. An example like we have here for a security company is we identified a question that a lot of their customers were asking is, can I use my old security equipment with a new company if I want to change vendors? We wrote the blog on that. And as you see on this screen, you know, you type in the query, they come up with this top section, and they come up right below it. we're capturing almost 100% of the traffic on that query now. And now people are engaging with this company and their brand. What are things like that you can do for your business where you can take advantage of that and be a resource for people? And then touching on the social media, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Platform choice, meet your customers where they are. So if you sell socks that are cute, Facebook is a great place for that because it's impulse buy, but no one's going to buy a $30,000 home renovation on Facebook. Nobody's going to hire an immigration attorney on Facebook. You're not going to get a business-to-business transaction on Facebook. You might on LinkedIn. Find out where your customers actually are and where their intent is to engage with a company like yours versus a different intent. Instagram is great for sharing pictures of food and clothing and style and stuff. If you're not in those industries, Instagram is not where you need to focus your time and energy. And then focus on measurable, results-oriented goals. If you want to create a goal for, like, let's say LinkedIn, don't say, hey, I want more likes on my posts or likes on my Facebook page or things like that. On LinkedIn, you would be like, I want 100 new peers to be connected to me by the end of 3 months. Make that your measurable goal, not just kind of a general, well, if more people see us, we're going to make more business. No, it's find things, hey, I want, I want these 10 of these lead forms at the end of this on Facebook or whatever it is. Make it measurable. And then do everything you can to work towards those goals. Review websites are more important now than ever. We kind of categorize these under social media because it's very social. Own and monitor all of your review sites. Yelp, Google, Trustpilot, TripAdvisor, whatever it is that's important to your business, make sure you own the page and make sure you are on top of it. The risk of not doing that is someone else is controlling the narrative. For instance, we had an old partner who was a national franchise of trampoline arenas. They're going through this right now, right? They were open, then they had to close because of government issuances, had a lot of unhappy people. Then they reopened, and now they're closed again, and they have not responded to customers with, hey, we're doing our best. It's kind of out of control. They didn't give refunds right away. People were showing up to their place of business for parties that were scheduled, and they were closed, and they have just let the reviews go. If they took the time to say, hey, we know we suck right now because no one knows what the heck is going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. We're dealing with it. On all the reviews, even if they have 100 one-star reviews, that is going to be better goodwill to their future customers than leaving those undone. The kind of general rule is if someone leaves you a review and you don't respond, what they say is true, whether or not it is. So make sure you own it, monitor it, and review everything, regardless of whether it's good or bad. Don't go hide from the bad. John mentioned earlier to me too, it's also going to give you insight into what's going on in your business. If you own like multiple restaurants and you're seeing reviews online where people are going in and saying the staff isn't wearing their proper PPE or whatever it is, you're going to see that where you might not have seen it otherwise. So right now it's really important to review or manage your reviews.
Yeah, if I can jump in real fast.
Yeah, please.
I think there's a tendency, it's something we've seen with our clients where there's a tendency to view online reviews as an online problem, something that's not reflective of the real world. But actually reviews are what give you an unvarnished view of what's going on in your business when you're not there or where you can't see, and getting a sense of what the public perception is of your business. And it will give you the best opportunity to make changes with your staff, with everything you're doing that's public facing, right, and make necessary changes.
Yep. Yeah, very important. And then the last thing on social media, stay away from controversy. Be supportive and informative about your business. Don't take a stance on any kind of social, political, or other fiery issues going on. My advice to you right now, if someone goes on your Facebook page or Yelp, or not Yelp, Facebook or whatever it is, and they post something in the realms of that, just delete it. Just delete it. Don't try to respond. Don't try to engage. There are a lot of people out there right now trying to poke companies. Just leave it. Delete it, hide it, whatever you can do, leave it, don't get involved. If it's a review, and someone posts something political or health-wise, complaining about mask requirements, whatever it is, just cordially, we appreciate your feedback. We're navigating this time just like everyone else. Thank you. We'll take it into consideration and we'll leave it at that. don't address it, don't get involved. That only invites worse, worse. Whether or not you believe, and I deal with this all the time as a business owner too, whether you believe you're in the right or not, from a marketing, from messaging, from an environmental standpoint, just leave it. The last thing I want to say is measure your success. Whatever you set out to do, establish goals, establish how you're going to measure them, and establish a baseline. See where it is now. What are we measuring? Is it leads? Is it contacts? Is it posts or comments on Facebook? Is it clicks on our ad? Is it cost going down, or whatever it is? Set a measurable goal. Don't just set a general feeling of, hey, I feel like things are going better, because if you do, you're going to be kind of beholden to the whims and the feelings that we're going through on a day-to-day basis, and you might make decisions that maybe are not the best informed. Especially for some of these long-term things like SEO, it's a long-term game. Social media, if you're in the marketing department for a company and your boss says, hey, I want more likes on our Facebook page, be realistic. Like, businesses don't get likes on Facebook pages anymore. The algorithm doesn't allow for most of it. Like whatever that is, make a measurable, achievable goal. Say, where am I today, and what are we measuring today, and what are we going to measure in the future, and look long-term. The reason being, I can say this from a personal standpoint, as a business owner, if I don't have those wins, let's say, oh man, I was like 5th page of Google, and now I'm like the top of 2nd page. If I didn't see that and measure it, then I would have just assumed it wasn't working, and I would have been discouraged, and I would have given up. We, psychologically have this endorphin release on achieving goals, right? Checking off tasks, achieving something we set out to do, whether it's a goal board or whether it's a measurable thing, whatever it is, if you set the goal and measure it, when times are tough, if you achieve those little incremental things that matter to your business long-term, you will be encouraged to keep doing it. You'll be motivated to keep it going. So I really want to encourage you guys, just from an overall standpoint, set achievable things and measure them too. It'll make you feel better long-term.